These days, we hear a lot of news regarding earthquakes in the news, and the recent one being a Chinese earthquake with a magnitude of 6.2 jolted a remote and mountainous area on the northern edge of Qinghai Tibetan Plateau. It killed almost 111 people and injured 230. An over 800-year-old monastery in Ladakh Zanskar area also developed cracks following the earthquake. So, earthquake is something that is always coming into the news, and another recent incident was a magnitude 6 earthquake that hit Peru, and also some days back a powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake also hit Philippines Mindanao area. So these are some of the world's famous earthquakes that recently hit the news. So in this context, it's important to know what is an earthquake. Let's quickly know that. An earthquake is what happens when two blocks of the earth suddenly slip past one another. The surface where they slip is called the fault or the fault plane. The location below the earth's surface where the earthquake starts is called the hypocenter. And the location directly above it on the surface of the earth is called the epicenter. Sometimes an earthquake has foreshocks. So these are smaller earthquakes that happen in the same place as the larger earthquake that follows. Scientists can't tell that the earthquake is a foreshock until the larger earthquake happens. The largest main earthquake is called the main shock. The main shocks always have aftershocks that follow. So always understand there is a foreshock and a main shock. Although the earth looks like a pretty solid place from the surface, is actually extremely active just below the surface. The earth is made up of 4 basic layers. 1. A solid crust, a hot nearly solid mantle, a liquid outer core and a solid inner core. It's very important to know this. The solid crust and top stiff layer of the mantle make up a region called the lithosphere. The lithosphere isn't a continuous piece that wraps around the whole earth like an eggshell. It's actually made up of giant puzzle pieces called the tectonic plates. The tectonic plates are constantly shifting as they drift around on the viscous or slowly flowing mantle below. This non-stop movement causes stress on the Earth's crust. When the stress gets too large, it leads to cracks, which is called faults. When tectonic plates move, it also causes movements at the fault. An earthquake is the sudden movement of Earth's crust at a fault line. The location where an earthquake begins is called the epicenter. An earthquake's most intense shaking is often felt near the epicenter. However, the vibrations from an earthquake can still be felt and detected hundreds and thousands of miles away from the epicenter. And also, please understand, the earthquakes are recorded by an instrument called seismograph. The recording they make is called the seismogram. The seismograph has a base that sits firmly on the ground and a heavy weight that hangs free. When an earthquake causes the ground to shake, the base of the seismograph shakes too, but the hanging weight does not. Seismograms come in handy for locating earthquakes too, and being able to see the P waves and the S waves is the most important. So you must have definitely learned about what is the P waves and S waves. Each shake the ground in different ways as they travel through it. P waves are also faster than the S waves, and that is a fact that allow us to tell where an earthquake was. So before we go, you should also know about 2 important concepts. One is the Richter scale. Apart from the seismograph, the magnitude of seismic energy released during an earthquake is measured by the Richter scale. A quake magnitude is determined by measuring the amplitude of the largest wave recorded on the seismogram. So the larger the amplitude, the greater is the displacement of the recording. And also know about hypocenter, the location below the earth surface where an earthquake rupture really begins. So there are more concepts in this earthquake, but definitely it's very important that you know these basic concepts and ideas about earthquakes.